we'll either heal our stuff from childhood or we'll pass it on. And it sounds like you've really decided not to pass that shit on.
Well, I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know if there's
That's all we can do.
I don't know if there's any such thing as being a perfect parent.
Yeah, there's
but
no
you
way.
can definitely be a very, very good parent. I think all it takes to be a very good parent is love them, make sure you love them unconditionally and they feel that, right? A lot of people say they love their kids and probably do, but if the kids don't feel it, bro, it's just words.
Yeah.
You know, even if you do, even if you feel that, if they're not feeling it,
Yeah.
right? That's a really important distinction. If you do that, and yes, of course, the basics, if, you know, keep them alive and fed and shelter, then, man, if you can do those two things, you're 80% of the way there.
You are listening to Dedicated Joe, the new dad's guide on the upending and transformational experience of becoming a father. Today I have my friend and colleague Tucker Max on the show. Now, Tucker is known for telling unfiltered stories, but today you'll get to see a side of him you've never seen before. He is a father of 4, ages 3 to 10 years old, and he shares about how becoming a parent really cracked him open, forced him to heal old wounds, and is really helping him build a family rooted in presence and healing and radical support. He is a New York Times best-selling author with over 4.5 million copies sold, and he's most known for books like I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell. But today, he is focused on raising resilient kids, nurturing relationships, redefining what success means to him. And on this show, we talk about everything from postpartum identity to homeschooling to homesteading to how language is a key tool in parenting. And Tucker doesn't hold back, so if you're easily offended, you might want to skip this one. But in this episode, you're going to get to meet a version of him that most people never get to meet. Tucker, we actually originally met through your wife. Veronica was our doctor. She became the doctor for all of our staff for our baby food company. We actually ran into her in the airport. She was wearing a Siete hoodie and a big Yeti hat, I think. And Serenity was like, that's Tucker Max, and that's his wife Veronica, and I've been reading about them. She was a big paleo blog reader. And so we approached you guys and talked to you and talked to you about our baby food company. And then she told us about this new doctor concierge medicine project where, we need healthcare for our staff. Let's do it. So she's been an amazing practitioner for our staff for the last several years. And so when we decided to have this podcast, I thought of cool dads that I know and thought of you.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So you had this kind of sordid past from we read about in your books. How did you transition from that into wanting to be a father?
Yeah, I mean, that's a long story. But I always knew I wanted a wife and kids, but it was like one of those things where in my 20s, I was like, yeah, I want to do this, but not yet. And so then I just kind of, I went through the party on women's stage. It just happened for me to become a job because I wrote about it. And so it became a career. Like most people go through it and, maybe it's a week, maybe it's 5 years, but for me, it became a job. And so I kind of got stuck in it a little longer than most people.
Professional,
and,
bro.
Yeah, no, seriously. Yeah. Like I was literally writing about drinking and partying and hooking up and making a lot of money doing it and doing movies about it. And it was like, okay. And so then I overshot probably where I would have stopped naturally. And then it got like unfun. And I was like, this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. And then it was kind of funny, man. I'll tell you, here's the thing. A lot of people have this idea in their head that like, okay, I'll party or I'll do this or I'll do that. And then I'll meet the right woman or the right guy and switch and change for them, right? It doesn't work that way. What I realized is I actually had to get my shit together before the type of woman I would want to marry would want to marry me, right? Because like the type of woman I would want to marry, like has a lot of options and a lot of great dudes. So, I'm an awesome dude too, but like if she has a chance to date an awesome dude who has no baggage, then it's like, well, why me over her? So I had to kind of deal with a lot of stuff, therapy, all that fun stuff, or unfun stuff. And so like it was about 34, I kind of really realized, all right, I'm tired of like party life. I want to find a good girl and settle down. And then I had like 2 or 3 kind of starter relationships where it's like the type of girls I was hooking up with, I started dating. That obviously didn't work, right? Because you don't,
Yeah.
you don't, the girls that I was hooking up with were in the phase of their life where they wanted to hook up, not get married. You don't marry girls who are looking to hook up, just like you don't hook up with girls who are looking to marry. They're different phases, even if it's the same people, different phases of their life. And so I had to kind of, start learn how to look in the right place, how to kind of become that person, like who was actually ready for a relationship and not just saying it. And then, bro, it was crazy, man. Almost as soon as I actually had done enough work and I really was emotionally in a space where I was ready to have a serious, mature relationship, I met Veronica. Like it was like a month later. Mm-hmm. It was, we were pretty tight pretty quick. And then from there, man, it's like once I decided I met my wife, or I met her, and we knew pretty quickly. And then it was like, okay, we're going this direction, family direction. Then it's just a matter of navigating. And all kinds of things come up.
You wanted
right?
kids from the beginning, like you both were clear that was.
When I think I met her, I was 36 or 37, and I think I was 37, she was 28, right? I was at the stage of my life where on first dates or when I would first meet women, I would really start like asking them like pretty serious questions, because it's like if I meet a 28-year-old girl who's like, oh, I still want to sleep with 100 guys, I'm like, cool. Like, you should go talk to my friend, right? Nothing wrong with that. We're in different stages of life, right? Yeah. And so I wanted to find out, like, is this a woman who shares my values, shares my goals, is someone that I want to possibly explore pursuing with? Because if she's not, why spend 2 hours or a whole night hanging out with a girl who's just looking to hook up if I'm not looking for that anymore, right? And so, yeah, man, the first night we met, she didn't bring it, I brought it. I'm like, oh, you want kids and this and that. Just more like a general sort of like, what type of person are you? Where are you in life? What are your values? Yeah, I was definitely.
Why did you want kids?
It's so funny that we're at a cultural point where that's a question now, right? It's to me, if you don't want kids, that's the question. And listen, I think either one can be a valid choice. I guess there really shouldn't be any default behavior. It's like, the more conscious you are of your choices, the better your choices are going to be for you. I always wanted kids, man, because I knew this only vaguely before I had kids, right? So I don't want to tell you why I love having kids now, because that wasn't my rationale before I had kids, because you have kids. Even if you want kids, after you have kids, almost always they're way, way better than anything you could have imagined ahead before, right? And so, and people used to tell me that, and I thought they were stupid or crazy, or I'm like, what do you know? They're all right, although usually the way they talk about it is wrong. I just knew I wanted kids because, to me, I'd always liked kids. I thought kids were great, not the bratty ones, but most kids were fun. And I wanted a family, I wanted a group of people who loved each other, who were together, who were supporting each other. I didn't come from a healthy family at all. Although it's kind of funny, on my mom's side, we had a long, long family history and all kinds of whatever, accomplishments or whatever. But by the time it got to me, it was just a pile of dysfunctional doofuses. It was, and so I came from on both sides, very dysfunctional families. And I was like, I don't want this. The shit's going to stop flowing downhill from here. And I wanted a woman who wanted a great family. Ideally, it came from a great family, but if not, okay, no problem. We can, let's figure it out. And who wanted kids, a lot of kids, at least probably 3 or 4. And I wanted a big family, and I wanted that sort of experience. What was my reasoning at the time? The happiest people I knew and I saw, truly content, really actually happy, not posting pictures of Lambos pretending they're happy or convincing themselves they're happy, but they aren't. Really happy people were the ones who had awesome families. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right?
That's nice.
It was like one of those things where I'm like, all right, these people have, not everyone with families, the ones who really focused on their families, who really built their families, who really loved their families, who really built healthy families, they were the ones where I'm like, this is who I want to be, or this is the style I want to emulate. And then it turned out to be even better than I could have imagined. I knew a family would be great, but it's 100 times better than I thought it would be.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, people often ask me why I wanted to be a dad or have kids. It's a similar sort of like asking me, why do you breathe? Like it's a
Right.
basic human thing to have kids. I never questioned that I'd be a dad, that I'd have kids, that I would go there. So, but then, the having kids and then being a dad is kind of,
Not
a
the
little
same
bit
thing.
different of a thing.
Pretty easy to have kids. Not easy to be a dad.
Yeah. So what do you think appealed to you about being a dad or that identity?
I mean, look, man, for me, and this is not the only reason, this is my reason. The hard reality is most people, when they go through, not most people, but a lot of people, because there's different ways to deal. When they go through trauma, hard stuff, there's a lot of ways to deal with it. But one of the primary ways to heal trauma is to give away or create what you didn't have, right? So if you came from a very unsafe place, you create a safe place for yourself, etc. Like I said, I came from a very unhealthy, dysfunctional family. I wanted to have a healthy family. I didn't get a healthy family as a kid, but I can make a healthy family as a parent.
Yeah.
And I get to have at least that half of the experience, right? I mean, dude, I like teaching. I like nurturing. I like helping. I mean, I know you know this because you're a dad, but like, it's so cool to have, like, my son's 10 now. And he's into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu like the way I am. And he's awesome. He's really good. He's got a super fight tomorrow night as a 10-year-old, right?
Wow.
He's so good at it, and he likes it so much. And it's been such a fun journey to help. He's so different than me, the way he learns. And certain ways he's very similar to me, and other ways he's very different. So kind of, I've had to grow and learn so much and to help him, not push him into it, not make him good, but help facilitate his growth and his experience in ways that work for him. I've grown so much from that, and learned so much from that. And it's so rewarding and enjoyable to help this little mini version of you that's not you, right? But kind of like you. I don't know, man. They're like, it's almost like describing. Sometimes I think the most important, the most valuable things are the hardest to describe. Like if you were to be like, well, what's so great about love? How would you even, like, like, why is sex great? It feels good. Well, yeah, there's a lot more than that, though. Mm-hmm. Kids are the same way, man. It's such a deep, I can make all the genetic arguments and the biological arguments, and all that's true. But, like, that's not the thing, dude. Yeah. It's so much more than that. It's so rewarding. It's so enjoyable. And, dude, the way we look at our family is very different than most people, right? Like, I feel like most people have this idea. Definitely my parents and probably your parents. It's a very boomer idea that, okay, I'm going to put in my 18 years and raise this kid and give it its education. And then it's off on its own and needs to get out. And then I get to go, take Viking cruises around Europe and get drunk all the time. It's like, I don't think about this shit like that at all. Like, to me, that's just the most ass backwards way to look at this. My wife and I look at our family as a clan, right? And I'm not. If they want to go travel the world at 18, of course they can. Or they want to, that's their life. They could do anything they want. But, like, at no point are we ever going to tell them they need to leave. Hell no. I hope all 4 of them stay, meet great people. I got 2 boys, 2 girls, meet great husbands and wives. And we've told all of them, we have a nice ranch. We got plenty of room. We'll build you houses here. You can raise your kids here. You can, whatever. Like, in fact, we hope you do. And think about the head start that, like, if you don't have to rent apartments, buy your own house, all this sort of stuff, if all your basic life startup costs are covered, how fundamentally different the choices you make are, all that kind of stuff. We look at our family as a unit, right? And now, any of my kids can opt in or out in any way they want. Like, I'm not like, oh, you're part of this team and you have to do this. No, they don't have to do anything. But the way I look at it is, if we create a great situation and we love them and they feel loved and the situation we create super rewarding for them and for us and nurturing for everyone, why the hell would they leave? Mm-hmm. Now, of course, maybe one of them decides maybe my daughter wants to be a marine biologist and, whatever. She lives in Tanzania to do that. Okay, fine. Cool, great. She can always come back though. Yeah. It's like, and so I look at this as like, I am building a life with these people, not just I have a job for 18 years.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Sure. I know you're part of the homesteading movement.
Yeah.
So is that common in homesteading to think of your building for kids
I don't
to come
give a
back?
shit what other people do.
Okay.
We're homesteading describes sort of what we do, but like really all we're doing is raising all of our own protein or getting it from our neighbors basically, right? Mm-hmm. So we raise sheep and meat chickens and eggs, and then we buy pigs from a buddy of mine who owns a farm over in Brenham and cows from another buddy of mine. And we get our raw milk from literally like 3 ranches over. So like I don't get protein out of the industrial ag system. It's all poison. Mm-hmm. It's all horrible. We're in the process of trying to raise as many fruits and nuts and veggies as we can. We're not lunatics about it. I'm not like, I refuse to go to Whole Foods. No, man, we go to Whole Foods to buy oysters, you know, or whatever. Like, right. You know, sometimes like I'm not a lunatic about it. But to me, the more we control our own water supply, our own power supply, our own food supply, the more sovereign, the more resilient we are, and the healthier we are, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, dude, like that's just about. And then plus, my kids have a life that's like, my son killed 4 deer this year hunting. Whenever we eat sheep, most of the time we process them ourselves, and so my kids know how to they know how to dispatch a sheep, how to kill it. They know how to skin it. They know how to gut it. They know how to process it. Like all the chickens, we do all our meat chickens on our ranch. Like actually, we buy them as chicks, but then from essentially chick all the way through, we process them on the ranch. My son's killed hundreds of chickens because that's how you cut their throats, they bleed out. Then you scald them, you defeather them. All my kids work that.
And all 4 have no problem.
All 4 have jobs. You know, like the 3-year-old doesn't do much. Right. You know, she like
none of them have like the resistance to the death or the life or the fear. Or any
no
of that.
Human has any issue with this if they're raised around it.
Yeah, it's
normal. You know, life and death are inextricably intertwined. Right? You can absolutely create some weird artificial divide and tell your kids that food comes from the grocery store. Okay, fine. If you want to like raise fucked up kids, like that's how you get people who have some weird issue with death, right? Death is just a part of life. Mm-hmm. It's not always pleasant. My daughter's kitty died the other day. Like we didn't kill it. It died as an accident. She was very upset. You know, we had a little funeral. She cried and cried. It was pretty crazy. It was so crazy to watch because like I can't stand cats. I was like, I don't really care, right? But she of course was heartbroken. And so we had a little funeral and she buried it and she was so sad, heartbreakingly sad for like 30 minutes. And bro, 45 minutes after the funeral, she was bouncing around on the tree trampoline because we gave her the time and the space to process the emotion. She understands this is part of it. She got to feel everything. She let it go. She's great. She's still sad about it, but it's like it's not a stuck thing. She's not obsessed with it anymore. You know?
How old was your oldest when you moved to the ranch?
It was 3 years ago, so 7.
So he wasn't quite raised from the beginning around it. So he kind of had to learn it. Did he have any learning curve, or he just kind of jumped into it?
Because I mean, I've been taking him hunting for about 2 years, and like we take them out to places and go to like, Shirttail Creek Farms or whatever, places like that. So, I mean, at first, obviously, it's for some of them, it's a little weird. When my 10-year-old shoots a deer, like we have a prayer we say as a family over it. He's solemn about it. They understand, like, we use all parts of it, feed it to the dog, the bones of the dogs, et cetera, right? They get all that. It's not like they're not dissociated from it like they work in a slaughterhouse. It's just like they're not like weirdly upset. Oh my God, something died. That's part of life. Like pretending that death isn't a part of life is extremely dysfunctional. And
so schooling, I know you guys have kind of started a school. Did you try homeschooling, unschooling before that?
Yeah, we've run through all of it, man. When I knew nothing about educational theory before I had kids, because why would I learn about that? And then we had kids, and I went kind of deep down the rabbit hole of it. I thought for sure acting style was going to be the one we liked, because like as an entrepreneur, I'm like, oh, this sounds the coolest. But then I visited Acton, and I'm like, oh, this is Lord of the Flies. This sucks. Like,
give me the one sentence on Acton. What's there?
So the Acton style is essentially unschooling, but like a group of kids together, right? And like it's so spreadsheet brained, extreme unschooling nonsense that each Acton's different, right? So I don't want to like say what I'm about to say is true for every Acton, because I'm sure there's somebody who has an Acton in some town. I guess I don't like that. But the Acton style is supposed to be the pretty much everything is kid initiated and kid run. Yeah. Right? And so the main acting, the first one that the Santa first started, we sat in like the class for a few hours. And I asked one of the teachers or whatever, the principal, like, what about interscholastic sports, right? Like, and they're like, oh, well, if the kids want to do it, the kids have to organize it. And I looked at it and I'm like, how the hell is a 12-year-old going to understand the logistics necessary for interclass? Like, that doesn't even, that's such a nerdy spreadsheet brain way to look at things. That reflects a complete lack of understanding of developmental systems of children and all this sort of stuff, right? Like, it's what someone who lives in their head thinks kids should do. Mm-hmm. It's not actually what works. And then, like, when I first heard of Waldorf, I'm like, oh, this just seems like dirty hippies playing around in the woods. Like, what the hell is this, right? And then I went and visited Waldorf. It was like in 2017. And I mean, man, the specific class I sat in had this teacher who, she was so, I have a hard time, like, jokingly, like, when I left, I didn't actually ask her this, but she was like an older lady in her 60s. She was a kindergarten teacher. And I wanted her to ask her if she'd be my mom. Like, she was like Mary Poppins, but American. I don't know how else to describe it. She was like this mystical person that, like, it's hard to believe even exists. Like, total patience, all love, but real boundaries. Like, saw everything, but like not a firm hand, but not overbearing. It was like she was perfect. I don't know how else to describe as a teacher. Like, I'd never seen a teacher like this. And a lot of the Waldorf teachers, not all, but a lot of them are like that. And so we fell in love with Waldorf. Bishop went to kindergarten there. So anyway, so us and about 50 other families at Austin Waldorf left Austin Waldorf, and we created our own sort of Waldorf style school. Okay. And then that school basically broke into 3 different schools because it was like people from all over Austin. One was out in Spicewood, one was kind of in Austin, and one was out in Dripping. Mm-hmm. And so us and another family kind of bought the land and started. It's called Living Oaks in Dripping. And then we were on the board for a year. We ended up resigning from the board, but 2 of our two youngest still go there. We now homeschool our 2 oldest, right? And okay. I'll tell you why. I still think the Waldorf system's the best.
What is the basis of Waldorf?
The easiest way to describe it is like Renaissance. Like, imagine a Renaissance education in the woods. It's like Waldorf believes in whole child development, right? So emotional development, physical development, intellectual development, social development. And what Waldorf is genius at is that they really understand developmentally appropriate things for children at each age. A really good example is reading. So there's basically what ruined Montessori. Montessori was kind of like in between Acton and Waldorf, right? Mm-hmm. Like roughly. And when true Montessori, like that Maria Montessori outlined, is a wonderful educational style. And so Montessori used to let the kids essentially, a student or a pupil-led education, not quite complete unschooling like Acton. There were developmental, so they understood development, but Waldorf is not as student-led as Montessori, right? And if you do that, it works. But now most Montessoris push academic achievement, right? Mm-hmm. So they have kids reading by 6 and 7. That is extremely developmentally inappropriate for kids. There's great data and studies on this, that the longer you wait to let kids or to teach kids to read, the better their brain develops, roughly, right? Like, without going super deep dive into the science, which I didn't believe either until I actually looked at all this stuff and talked to the real experts. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, this actually makes a ton of sense. Because like everybody, I thought, oh, if you learn it quick, that's better. No. The way brains develop, certain things, if you push it on them early, it shuts down other forms of, especially creative development.
That's what happened to me.
Exactly. Yeah. So Waldorf, they don't start teaching reading until like 3rd grade, really. Mm. And so until the kid's like, whatever, 8, something like that. And so, which would melt the minds of a lot of parents. And so that's one example, but there's 100 others.
Approach to technology that's pretty unique.
No screens.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, no screens.
So no screens,
which is 100% right.
Until a certain age, or
no
ever.
Screens, bro. I can't be more clear than no screens. Right. There's nothing ambiguous about that statement. Yeah. Waldorf is no screens, and I am pretty much 100% in that camp. They're right. I used to think they're stupid. Screens are the future, and then I saw the impact of screens on my children, and I'm like, they're right.
So in your home,
no screens.
No screens at all. There's phones, and you have a phone.
So we have you have you heard of the daylight computer? You know, like the kind of black and white one that you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Part of man. You want to talk about a deep? I'm sure my wife's talked to you about this. Like the blue light with computers is actually really toxic. And,
So
if you understand that, so there's a company that now makes iPads that are no blue light, right? And so they're a lot healthier,
like Kindle kind of style,
basically, right? But with they're more biologically appropriate for humans, right? If that sounds kooky, I get it. You kind of have to do the deep dive into light to understand what I'm talking about, which I didn't understand until about 3 years ago. But my wife did the deep dive, and then she's like, no, go read this. I'm like, oh crap, this is right. So what we'll do is we'll let them have about an hour a day. Well, they have to do chores, they have to earn time, and they do that by doing chores on the ranch and whatever. And then we'll give them an hour a day on just that daylight computer or daylight iPad, and it's only like educational videos. Like Bishop loves watching like all those history, YouTube channels about like Vietnam War or something. Like, I don't care what they're learning. They get to pick what they learn, but it's not like they're not watching Jake Paul videos or some nonsense, right? They're watching stuff that they actually learn from. And then usually we'll have them like, draw something off of it or tell me what you learned from it, basic stuff like that. But other than that, we also let them watch Little House on the Prairie. Like, that's it. That's their
OG homesteaders.
No, seriously. Little House on the Prairie, and they also fell in love with Homestead Rescue.
Oh, that's funny.
Have you ever seen that show? It's awesome, man. It's like this Alaskan family who are like they can fix anything, whatever, and they go these homesteads that are all screwed up and they fix everything. So it's like we let them watch things that are very wholesome, that are valuable to them and that reflect their life back on them, or something aspirational, and or something that's very educational, right, in a field that they want to learn. That's it. And then very limited. Okay.
So you have younger ones in the new Waldorf, and then olders are homeschooled.
Olders are homeschooled. And I'll tell you why, man. Even if Waldorf is done perfectly, I still am of the belief now, and I've only recently come to this, that if you can swing it, homeschooling, there's nothing better than homeschooling. And that's definitely true for our family. I'm not saying it has to be true for you or other people, whatever, everyone's different. But for us, that's true. And I'll tell you why, man, when they're younger, I think there is a pretty good case for being around a lot of younger kids and socialization stuff. But once they get past a certain age, you've essentially already set the foundation of socialization. You don't need more of it. Most of it actually usually becomes counterproductive. But in terms of raising children, I don't think there's anyone better on earth to teach my children than me and my wife, right? And not necessarily every subject. Like, they have tutors for guitar or whatever the things are. They have flute. Like, they have tons of sort of like individual subject teachers. But bro, no one cares more about my children than me and my wife. And quite honestly, I can't think of a woman I'd rather my daughters emulate than my wife. And there aren't many dudes I'd rather my sons emulate than me, right? And definitely no one who cares about them as much as us.
Yeah. How do you balance the time that takes with work and all your other endeavors?
I mean, bro, the hard ass answer is my wife shut down her medical practice to homeschool, right? And it was a very successful medical practice. She was printing money, and she's like, and literally she's obviously a very smart woman, but she's very emotionally connected too. And it was like one of those things where she woke up and she's like, why? She's like, I love my patients. They're great people. But why am I giving my life to my patients instead of my family? And I was like, baby, I make enough money. I got plenty of money. I've been telling you this for 10 years. I've been asking you this. And she's like, yeah, I wasn't ready to see it. Now I'm ready to see it. And it was a massive turning point for our family when she got that. And bro, she shut down her practice in October. And things were already great before.
Yeah, but before she was working full time. You have entrepreneurial projects.
We had a woman who essentially would come every day. Okay. Her name's Karini. She was
Mary Poppins.
She was the Brazilian Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Like she's actually the godmother of our youngest. She's that great, right? Like our youngest cardinal. Like in Cardinal's life, mommy's number 1, Karini's number 2, like Kaka, she calls her. Like our 11. I'm 3 and Granny's 4. Like Kaka is like her guy, and she's she's a wonderful woman. Like, you can have situations like that, right? But like, again, like my wife's like, why am I paying this woman $60,000 a year to watch my kid? Like, I have a job so I can pay people to watch my kids. Why don't I just watch my kids? Like, if so much of our system, my wife bought the lie that so many people do, that her meaning in life comes from achievement, financial, economic achievement, right? Or status in those regards. And she finally broke free of that and understood. I mean, I told her from the day I met her, I'm like, baby, if you want to do that stuff, I'm happy to support you. It's cool if I got a wife that's making a bunch of money. That's awesome. But if you want to just be a mother and a wife and nothing else, be the matriarch of this family, that's okay too. Like I'm in a position where we can do either. Right?
Did you ever consider taking that role? And
last year so last year only our son was homeschooling, not the daughter, our second oldest daughter. And so I did actually, when she was, because she was kind of scaling her business then. And we had Karini who did, but I was leading the homeschooling of my son. And it was fine. I did a pretty good job of it. But like, I did a good job because I love him and I care about him and I made sure I did a good job. But I wouldn't have hired myself to do it, you know? And it kind of worked because I'm his dad and he loves spending time with me.
Has more of the skill set around organizing and structuring.
She's just way better at it than I am. It's just more of a mom task, you know? It's not like I can't do it. It's just that like she's way better. And I think it just took her a while to realize the programming that I bought is bullshit.
Yeah.
And that my meaning doesn't need to come outside the home. That my meaning can come. If some woman wants to do that, fine, whatever. She realized that there's no higher value in her life than being a wife and a mother. Well, first up, herself first, but then wife and mother. And that is the most meaningful thing for her. And if that is, then why spend time on anything else?
Like you said, I've met her. She was my doctor for a while.
Yeah.
She seems like she'd get bored. You're not afraid she's going to get bored? Just like you said, being a wife and mother, like she has a lot of energy, a lot of creativity.
I mean, I don't know where that idea comes from. My wife has granted, we live on a homestead. So we live on 45 acres. There's a lot to do, right? Yeah.
It's not just the kids.
No, it's not just the kids. If you look at being a mother as literally investing in the people you love the most, that's not a job, dude. That's like a privilege. That's enjoyable, right? Yeah, granted, kids can be brats sometimes, like, of course. But like, for the most part, I mean, think about, what does my wife do all week with the kid? She goes, they go on field trips every week, whatever, Natural Bridge Cavern, or they'll go to the Science Mill, and so she gets to go hang out with the kids. I say this to people all the time, and a lot of people laugh when I say it because like they get the underlying truth. Everyone says they love their family. My wife and I actually like our family. Yeah. Not everyone does, man. I like spending time with my kids, like especially my two, actually all four. My youngest is finally, when they're under 3, and if you're a dude, I don't know. If you're one of those dudes who like 2-year-olds, that's cool. I'm not. Like, the best 2-year-olds are tolerable. But once they get to about 3, they start becoming real humans, you know? And then you can actually have conversations with them, and you can really interact with them in sort of like at least a way that's more appealing. My wife loves them from the time they come out. And she's different. But like, they're fun, man. They're really enjoyable to come out. And all 4 of mine are so different. And watching them learn and grow and playing with them and doing fun stuff. Even doing, like, we've learned how to, like, most of the chores we do are fun, because my kids I don't have to, it's not a job to go pick up the eggs from the chickens. I'm making my ranch better. I'm doing something for me. They understand this is their ranch, their home, right? They understand that everything they do to make that place better is making our family better and them better, right? It's not us telling them what to do. It's not, they get that this is theirs too, I
always thought about being a stay-at-home dad and thought like I would love that and all the taking care of the household and the ranch and so forth as a vision. I was always afraid I'd get bored and as I've taken time off and spent time with my daughter or been primary caregiver for even short periods of time, I think I've learned it's essentially a mindfulness practice. What it does is it challenges my, like you said, the productivity. Like I'm not checking boxes, I'm not producing something here. It's something really meant to be enjoyed and in the moment rather than produce. The
question is, am I supposed to be productive or am I supposed to have relationships?
Yeah.
I'm not a believer that I'm here as an economic unit. But at the same time, I don't believe money is the highest good in any stretch. I don't give a shit about economic production. That doesn't matter to me. It's bullshit. What matters to me are people.
Yeah.
Right? and my relationships with those people, right? That's the thing that matters most. Not like to me, not in the world, right? What matters most to you is your relationships, of course. But I mean, like, stuff only matters in the context of my relationships with people. That's it. Like, I do want to have money, right? So my wife doesn't have to work. So she gets to have this choice, and she gets to be the best wife and mother and focus only on that, right? And then also, so we can have this great land, and I can, you know, like, dude, if you're bored on a ranch, you're the problem. No, so what we've spent the last 3 years doing is creating a land that is nurturing, that is rewarding. You know, we have a huge flock of sheep, chickens. We just put in 3 orchards, like, you know, nuts, fruits, mulberries, like all this crazy stuff. Like, we're creating our own oasis, our own heaven on earth, right? For us. It's what we want, right? I don't know, man.
Relationships.
If you're bored, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, so our families didn't teach us how to have good relationships usually.
Mine did.
Obviously, your past shows that you spent a lot of time avoiding intimacy, avoiding good relationships. You had to learn it from scratch. Now we're learning again. How do you? What's your advice for men? Like, how do we learn how to be present like that? To be,
yeah, like, I don't give advice, man. But what I try to do is share my experience.
Sure.
And like, all right, it depends what the first question, honestly, is what do you want? Right? It's not, here's what you should do. I hate telling people should, have to, must. That's all shame-based frame. Like, I reject that for myself, and I don't take it on myself, and I don't put it on anyone else. But if someone's in that kind of mindset or asking me stuff, my question to them, first question is always, what do you want? Right? Bro, not everyone wants healthy relationships. I didn't 15 years ago. No? Maybe 15, 20, I definitely didn't, right? Like, I can definitely remember, like, when I was, I don't know, 28, I would meet, like, some really hot girl who, like, had her shit together and was really emotionally mature. And she'd be like, I can think of 2 instances very specifically. Both of them, it went the exact same way. They were, like, kind of really super into me in certain ways, but they knew I was, like, not ready. They were smart and mature enough to realize this dude would be fun to party with and a disaster to have a relationship with, right? And it's like, and I remember being super annoyed with them at that moment in my life, because I was like this one girl said to me, I'll never forget this. She kind of knew me, like, we were getting pretty close, and she kind of looked at me. I forget what I did. I did something immature and obnoxious. And she looked at me, I think I was 25 at the time, and she said, Tucker, you're going to be a great boyfriend when you're 30. And I was like, how dare you? Yeah. I'm so mad. She was off, 35.
Yeah, it took longer.
But her point was exactly right. So the point I'm trying to make is, if you tried to tell 28-year-old Tucker how to be vulnerable, you're talking to a fucking wall, dude. That's not what that dude wanted, right? It starts with, what do you want? Now, if a dude wants to connect more with other people, right, to have better relationships, like, if they really want that, I think it's a Buddhist saying. It's a great saying, like, before you, man, I'm butchering it, but, like, give me the paraphrase. It's something like, before you start to heal someone, ask them if they're willing to let go of what's making them ill.
Yeah,
right? And most people, who, myself very much included, or let me just make it about me. When I really started down the path of learning to have healthy relationships, it took me a long time to let go of unhealthiness, right? Because the unhealthy patterns I had were how I dealt with my pain, right? And so, man, like, it's not, oh, go do this.
Just like alcohol and
no, I really didn't drink much.
Or the crutches.
Women, way more than alcohol. Yeah, dude.
Right.
Like, if I was an addict, it was women, not alcohol. Dude, for me, healing for me, there's a lot of paths to healing. But if someone's having problem with relationships, it's almost certainly because they had very traumatic, hurtful relationships in their past, right? At least in some regard. You can be very healthy with certain relationships and not with others. Like, you can have a ton of great male friends, but not be able to have a girlfriend, or vice versa, right? So it's not like you're either good at relationships or not. Like, you can have different types and be very, very different. But, okay, so let's take me, for example, and make it specific. So I had... Man, my mom was a mess, dude. I mean, she did her best, but she was an extremely toxic, verbally, emotionally abusive woman. She gave me all she had, but she didn't have much, and it was mostly just fucked up nonsense. So she dumped all that stuff on me, right? And she was a flight attendant for Pan Am. So literally, like, would leave me with babysitters and fly, go somewhere, go to Asia for 2 weeks, come back. I mean, it was her job, I get it. But when you have a small child and the mother leaves, like, there's almost, if you actually look at, like, the comprehensive trauma study, is called the ACEs study, the Adverse Childhood Experiences study. And the number one traumatic event or the most traumatic thing that can happen to a child is not sexual or physical abuse, although there's very traumatic. Neglect is number one. Yeah. And I literally had a mother who did almost nothing but neglect me. So, like, a lot of mom issues, right? Yeah. And so what became my pattern with women as an adult was I would attract them, hook up with them, and then abandon them, right? Not all of them, but a huge...
Stay in the power position.
Or like, so like I'd hook up with them and abandon them, or I would be super close emotionally with them, but not hooking up with them, which is sort of like a Madonna whore thing. Yeah. But the reason you do that, like a lot of people know that term, they don't really understand what's going on. The reason you're splitting that is so that you're not actually vulnerable, right? You've got your emotional stuff over here, your sexual stuff over here. Splitting is a good way to stay in control, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's a very simplistic, I mean, I could go way, way deeper. But like the point is, I had dysfunctional relationships with women because of my baggage. Like and don't get me wrong, there are all kinds of dysfunctional women in my life, but I was starting from a traumatized place, and I developed very dysfunctional sort of ways to deal with that pain. And so I went after and attracted women who were also dysfunctional in their own ways. And so we were good fits in a dysfunctional way, right? Well, so you can't just tell me, oh, here's how you do this and this and this to be healthy. No, dude. No, I had to turn and face my own shit. Right? And that's true for every man, woman, everyone who's got issues. It's almost never, rarely are these things just quick, easy behavioral fixes. You don't tell someone, like you don't tell a woman who's been raped and is terrified of men, hey, just get over your fear. No, like she's got to deal with the trauma that happened. It's a very real trauma. And she's got to deal with it herself. Once she feels all that and goes through that, then she can change her behavior. Same with me. I had to deal with my grief and all this stuff with my mom before I could, and it's not like a light switch, right? It took me, I dealt with a lot of it. Then I met Veronica and we got into a great relationship, but like she also had issues and I had issues. And bro, we're probably on our third marriage now. We've been together for 12 years, but just like our levels of growth have changed. We've grown together so much, right? And now we're both of us at very healthy places. But dude, it's mainly because I had to deal with my internal stuff.
What are some of the like highest potency growth practices or tools that you've used?
Okay, I'll tell you, for me, man, was psychedelic medicine. Talk therapy was good. Meditation was okay. Most all coaching is what's basically cognitive behavioral therapy in some form or another. Yeah. It's just ways to change behavior, right? And that stuff for certain things can be okay, right? Like thinking about the ideas in your head is important. But that almost, if you just do that, you don't get to the root of it. Psychedelic medicine for me, and it's not the only way to do this, it's the way it worked for me, was amazing at helping me get to my feelings, right? Like I had a ton of shame and grief, really. Grief over my mom. And most of it was from when I was so young, pre-verbal. Talk therapy is not getting, what you didn't talk your way into, you cannot talk your way out of, right? You can't reason your way out of something you didn't reason your way into. That's not the way the brain works. No behavioral shit's going to get there. I had to feel those emotions. There's plenty of modalities that can help people get into their emotions, right? I'm not saying psychedelics are the only way.
And things like
somatic massage, breath work, yoga, meditation. I mean, you go down the list. There's so many, right? For me, I was so dissociated and so stuck in my head. Psychedelics were the thing that really cracked me open.
With a facilitator.
Yeah, right, of course.
Yeah. So
I don't know how people do fucking LSD and go to concerts. Like that's crazy. I did LSD and literally just heaving, rocking, sob, cried for 12 hours. And it was horrible when I went through it. But then I felt like $1 million 3 weeks later. It was amazing because I was getting all of that stuff.
That was energy. Like a guided LSD journey.
So look, so let me take a step back. Most people have no concept of how emotion works, right? I didn't either. There's kind of what's become now a classic book, although when it came out, no one had heard of it. It's called The Body Keeps the Score by Bestselling.
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably read it.
Sure.
It gets recommended a lot. There's a reason why. It's a little bit dry. It's a little bit thick. But Bessel kind of wrote the Bible on understanding how trauma and emotion interact in the body. It's not a metaphorical thing when I say, I had stuck emotions. It's a literal thing. My mom abandoned me when if my mom went, to fly to Tokyo for a flight when I was 3. I don't understand all that. And I felt totally abandoned, and it was overwhelming, and my body shut that grief down. It stores it away, not metaphorically, literally. It's still there. Mm-hmm. It's like the huge, ice under the
iceberg.
The iceberg pushing you around. Mm-hmm. And the only way to stop that iceberg pushing you around is to let the grief up and feel it, right? That's it, bro. I mean, that's the last. I started with very experienced facilitators. I started in 2018, and I've done since then. I was pretty intense from 18 to 22, and the last 3 years I've done enough work. I've been able to slow down and only do maybe a session or 2 a year. But I've done approximately 18 MDMA sessions, probably 6 to 8 mushroom sessions, a few LSD, a few ayahuasca, a few iboga, a few ketamine, some of those combined, right, depending.
A lot of those are currently being FDA evaluated and approved.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
For psychological
I'm obviously
study.
not a dude who worries what the law.
Just for listeners' sake to know that it isn't that extreme anymore. I mean,
no.
psilocybin and MDMA are both basically almost
They should be legal. They should have never been made illegal.
Yeah.
If you want to know the story about that, Paulin wrote a really good story called How to Change Your Mind. The first half of the book explains the nonsense of the illegality of these substances, because they're medicines. I don't even call them drugs. They're at least the way I use them, and most people use them. They're medicines. And dude, they were so transformative for me, dude. I mean, people always the most important thing. I always say that psychedelics are the most important thing I've ever done in my life. And people are like, well, aren't you married with kids? I'm like, yeah. And I probably wouldn't be married, and my kids would probably hate me if I had not done the work that they're not magic pills, right? They're just, they are substances that unlocked parts of me so I could do the hard work, which really just means feeling your feelings, dude.
Yeah.
That's really what it means.
Right.
I'll make it, that's as simple as I can make it. If you don't you probably understand, but if you're listening to this and you don't get it, I get it, because I didn't understand either until I started the therapy, and I was like, shit.
Yeah. It's interesting because I have a 6-year-old, and for years it's okay to have your feelings. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be angry. We say it to them over and over. It's like standard teaching for how you deal with toddlers now, is tell them it's okay to have their feelings.
Yes,
you can hit a pillow, you can cry, you can draw about it, and
behavior and feeling, actions or feelings are not the same thing.
Right? Or don't break things. But if you want to tear a piece of paper,
you can feel.
It's only been there for 6 years, and I feel like I'm just now getting it for my own self. It's okay to feel. I came to it through physical pain. Yeah, I discovered that some of my physical pain that had no physical,
that's very common.
Yeah, like I had some back pain, I had some ankle pain, I have some gallbladder migraine stuff. Through exhausting it medically, just lab studies with your wife, determined there's no medical cause to this, and discovered that there's emotional psychological cause, and started feeling my feelings. And like you said, it's all still there, childhood trauma. So I think the takeaway for dads is really parenting, being in connection with a partner, so being a husband, being a father has a lot to do with being present, being still, being...
Well, it's even deeper than that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I don't know what it was like for you. People always say, kids are your biggest teachers.
Biggest teacher, yeah.
Right. So before I had kids, I was kind of a little bit left-brained about this,
What am I going to learn from a 2-year-old?
Well, yeah, what the fuck is a 2-year-old going to teach me? You're an idiot. Okay, so they were idiots the way they were saying it, but the core point was very right. What they should have said, what's true, is children are not teachers. Children are mirrors. And they reflect, totally unknowingly, reflect you back at you. And the teaching aspect is not what they're doing. It's what happens when you see yourself in a mirror. And then the question you got to ask. I really think if you do it right, parenting is maybe the hardest thing you can ever do. Not because parenting a child is hard. It's actually pretty easy. It's because it forces you to face who you really are. And then what are you going to do when you start looking at who you really... You can't lie to yourself anymore, Actually, you can. You totally can, but you know when you do,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so are you going to lie to yourself? You know,
Consciously lie to yourself now,
when,
right?
when this happened to me, when your 5-year-old boy is yelling at your 3-year-old girl and doing exactly to her what you do to your wife, are you going to pretend that that's not going on?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you going to own, oh, shit,
Mm-hmm.
that's me and that's what I'm doing?
Yeah.
It's not fun or pleasant, dude,
Yeah.
but that's actually what being a good parent really is. Or I think that's what being a great parent is when you see something, when you see yourself reflected, especially in a way it's like, fuck, I don't want them to be doing that.
Yeah.
All they're doing is acting like me. Then you've got to start unpacking in yourself, why do I do that? It's not just as a matter of changing the behavior, right? It's like understanding why because it's, if you can just change the behavior and no other consequence, great, do it. But the yelling's usually coming from somewhere, man. Why? And you start digging deep into yourself. That my kids haven't forced growth on me, but my kids have been the biggest stimulators for growth for me. My kids and my wife, because they are such mirrors for me.
Yeah.
And I made a promise to myself early on. As a person, long before I had kids and a wife, I was never going to lie to myself, right? I fool myself plenty. But like when it's right there in front of me,
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, right? And so I've had to, oh man,
Yeah.
I've had to really look hard at
Yeah, I think if I were to sum up my kind of parenting philosophy, it's approach parenting as a spiritual practice.
Yeah.
That the goal is, it's pretty easy to keep them from dying.
Yeah, right.
It's very hard to become the most enlightened version of yourself, but that is the opportunity. And anything in between is parenthood. And how hard you make it, do I keep them from dying and let them deal with their trauma and therapy later? Or do I let them grow me up and become my highest self? They're going to get their own shit and they're going to have to go to therapy anyway, probably. But I will either heal our stuff from childhood or we'll pass it on. And it sounds like you've really decided not to pass that shit on.
Well, I'm doing the best I can. I don't know if there's
That's all we can do.
I don't know if there's any such thing as being a perfect parent.
Yeah, there's
but
no
you
way.
can definitely be a very, very good parent. I think all it takes to be a very good parent is love them. Make sure you love them unconditionally, and they feel that, right? A lot of people say they love their kids and probably do, but if the kids don't feel it, bro, it's just words.
Yeah.
You know, even if you do, if you feel that, if they're not feeling it,
Yeah.
right? That's a really important distinction. If you do that, and yes, of course, the basics. Keep them alive and fed and shelter. Then, man, if you can do those two things, you're 80% of the way there. Almost like really, truly, if you are. But if you really, really think about, man, am I really unconditionally loving them? Which doesn't mean no boundaries. It doesn't mean do everything they ask. That means, like what you said earlier, you're being present with them all the time. You're connecting with them all the time. You're being there in the way they need you. Also though, you're taking care of yourself,
right.
So you're able to be there in those ways, right?
That means being with yourself ultimately. And I think that was the hardest part, was now I have to face all this.
When you have
her
kids,
feelings are my feelings. And
when you don't have kids, it's so easy to disconnect from everything, including yourself, and lie to yourself and fool yourself about it. But when you've got a 4-year-old there who's saying, Daddy, come play with me, man, that's the mirror, right? You can't just disconnect from yourself there and pretend. You can stay on your phone, sure, of course you can. But the mirror is there being like, look at you, you're on your phone.
Yeah. Yeah, learning to play. My daughter says her favorite thing about me is that I'm that I'm fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, I don't really identify as someone who plays. I'm a worker, I'm a creator, I'm a producer. And so this idea of this spirit of, she doesn't even know what work is. Like what work you're going to work, it seems like a punishment. I'm sorry. She's sorry for me that I have to go to work. She'd rather me stay and play with her, which obviously is the best thing I could possibly do. And she's not totally wrong. Like it is really fun if I can let myself do it, but I have to feel shame and grief and anger in order to be able to be present with her.
So that's exactly what I was talking about before. Yeah. That's all inside of you. Mm-hmm. And you can turn inside, feel that, deal. Why am I feeling shame about playing? Valid question. That's your work. You can do
or
all
not
that.
Playing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Dude, that's exactly, that's 100%, dude. We each have, that wasn't an issue for me. I had different issues, right? But it's just, they're all the same. they're going to reflect your issues back on you. They're going to trigger you in ways, and then what do you do with that?
Yeah, thanks. So let's, for guys with pregnant wives, you've had 4 pregnancies now. What's your role? What role do you take in pregnancy?
Yeah, so we did home births.
Yeah,
with midwives, and I cannot recommend that enough. It is the greatest. I thought it was kooky, and my wife obviously knows, and so she like literally was like, I'm like, baby, we're not gonna go to a hospital, and she goes, shut up, you don't know. She's like, I would never go into a hospital. She's like, I'm like, didn't you work in a hospital? She's like, yes, I like the ER for years. That's why I know never to go in unless you absolutely have to. And then she made me watch this documentary called The Business of Being Born by Ricky Lake, of all people. Remember Ricky Lake? Mm-hmm. And it was a brilliant documentary. It was great. And it sold me. And I was like, okay. I mean, like, she's obviously the doctor in the family. I'm going to trust her anyway on this. But, like, I saw that, and then I kind of did, not even a deep dive, just like a mini dive. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're totally right about this. I had no idea. Because, like, why would I know about midwives? And we had our midwife was Monica Stone. This is in Austin. And there's a lot of great ones. She's one of the best in Austin. And she was just amazing. Like, I don't know what it is about midwives, but they have this weird energy, kind of like the Waldorf teacher I was talking about.
Yeah, they're like Yoda.
Bro, they're very similar, man. Yeah. It's like this ancient mystical energy that you don't see many places. And she's got this weird energy.
You used her for all 4?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And
started with that in the first pregnancy. You brought her on immediately.
I don't think my wife has ever been to an OBGYN, at least for the pregnancy, because all of ours went really smoothly. I had them all 4 at home. They were all great experiences.
Just back up to the pregnancy period, that 9 months, what is your role?
I mean, dude,
she's growing the baby. What do you do?
My role, I see my role is to help her on her experience. I'm there to support her, right? Because, like, I kind of had the easy job. I just had to roll over and root around on her for a while. And then that's basically, I'm done, like, with my part. And so then I just support her the rest of the way through. And my wife, tall, strong, healthy. So most of her pregnancies were pretty easy. She wasn't like, she didn't get depressed during any of them. She didn't have any sort of like major issues. I mean, there's moments here or there, right? And like, so like, I'm just, okay, she wants ice cream, we get ice cream, whatever. Like basic stuff. And then the midwife, man, I leaned on the midwives. Like, it was like almost like I mean this not in a bad way at all, but I was almost like a servant for her, at least in the context of support, not overall.
I think that's a good way to describe it.
Right. But like
the humility of like, I'm here to serve
like,
you.
I'm here to help you on your process because you're having the kid, our kid. Right. And then my wife leaned on the midwife to be more of her partner, I don't know, consigliere. Because what do I know? I'm a man. Birth is the domain of women, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, they're the ones that do it. We're not. And so she had Monica, like, who had kids, and I could go to all the meetings. There were no secrets. It was just like they had a connection and a shared experience that I didn't have. And so I didn't try and get in between that. I didn't try to control this. I'm like, baby, you tell me what you need, and I'll do everything I can to get it for you. And Monica was more of her sort of like, her support in terms of experiential support. I was her servant, kind of, sort of butler or whatever support. And that's it. And then same like, was
that ever hard? Did it ever hit your ego or feel
why would it
was natural for you to just, it's not my thing, I'm going to serve you.
In that role.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how our marriage works,
right.
But like, you have different roles in different parts of your marriage. Like right now, I'm the only one working, right? And so my wife, she deals with all the kid stuff, all the house stuff, and a part of her job is to make sure I have a ton of free time to do the things I need to do and that I'm not bothered or whatever. She's serving me in that regard. And so it's like, I'm a big believer that marriages are not supposed to be equal, but they are supposed to be nurturing for both, right? I don't do what she does. She doesn't do what I do, right? We do different things, but it works really well for me and it works really well for her. And if it's not, we figure out how.
And then what's your role in the birth, at the home birth itself?
I became the servant of the midwife. Because
tell me what.
Seriously.
Right.
Like, and so the midwife, for my job at most of the births, by the 4th one, I had it down pat. My job was to keep Veronica hydrated. So like, like ice water. She has a special mix she wanted, and with a straw and whatever. So like, because that actually is pretty important. And it's an easy job. I was in charge of the pool. Like I had to make sure the pool was inflated, filled with hot water.
Yeah.
Right. Like the logistical things, those were my job. Veronica's job was Veronica's comfort and the baby's comfort and health. And then Veronica's job was to have the baby.
Yeah.
Right? It worked great.
And for people who choose to be in the hospital, you can get a birth doula that plays a similar role. Yep. Midwife's a little overkill for a hospital, but a birth doula can also be that expert that can give you the job to do. We had planned a home birth. I really wanted a home birth. My wife wasn't so sure. So we visited a hospital, and we visited the birthing center, and we met with a midwife at home. And the midwife really said, you just need to pick where you feel the safest.
True.
It's really up to you. It doesn't matter where, if you feel safe.
Birthing centers are a good compromise.
And she was like, I feel like home is where I actually feel the safest. So she chose home, but she was, I was fully prepared to support her in whichever of the three. We ended up in the hospital because baby was breech and wouldn't turn and had to have a C-section. And so that's a whole nother story. But ultimately, like that decision, I think there is a lot of people default to the hospital. And I think it's useful to say, is it really the right way?
The story of the medicalization of pregnancy in this country over the last 100 years is crazy. You might want to, if you find, there's plenty of people who know that story really well. Have people who really know the whole story. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah.
So you're serving in pregnancy, you do what the midwife tells you in birth, and then the baby comes, and you've got this, first anywhere from 1 week to a year of what they call the postpartum period.
Right. Yeah.
What do you do then? What's your role?
So this is a super important thing, and I luckily had a couple of friends who prepped me for this, so it was not the thing that I realized, or I was told, and I was told correctly. For the first roughly 3 months, you need to prepare yourself for the fact that your wife's entire world is that baby, especially the first baby. Her entire world is that baby. And your job, like imagine them in a cocoon of love together. And your job is to support that cocoon. And you can come into it sort of a little bit at times. But the first 3 months especially, her job is to so totally meet every need of that baby and bond with that baby. The first 3 months are so crucial. Physical touch, as much physical touch as possible, as much breastfeeding as possible, as much like touching, all like that, especially with her, right? And of course, if you want to hold it, that's all fine. But I mean, like, that's the core. Right, that's the beating heart.
They're still like the same person.
They really are. Think of the first 3 months as the fourth trimester. Right, which actually, if you understand the physiology of babies, they actually are born quote unquote early because our brains are so big. They have to come out in a stage that is actually neonatally underdeveloped. Or otherwise it won't go through the hips, right? And so the fourth trimester is like a real thing for kids. Like we're one of the only animals that I think are like this because, again, our brain size. Anyway, so I kind of got it the first time, but by 2, 3, 4, we had set up our lives where literally all she had to do was lay in bed with the baby, and then when she felt ready, get up, go for a walk. Like she didn't have to think about anything except the baby, right? And so like to the point where I brought her mom every time. If you have parents, ideally get them to come stay with you or you go stay with them or whatever. The more people around who are family or the equivalent of family, super close, the better, right? The more support you have, even if it's just emotional support, like don't discount that. That's super, super important. Yeah. It really helps the mom. Like my wife and her mom I have a great relationship with her mom. She's fantastic. My wife and her mom don't get along all that well, but still having her there was so important.
Did you play a role in managing that team?
Man, I don't try and get between two cats that are fighting. Like that's never productive, right? Yeah, I mean, like there's not much I can do there. It's not my relationship, it's theirs, right? But yes, I can like, okay, Granny, you go in the living room, Veronica, you go in the bedroom, whatever. But like when new babies were around, they weren't fighting. They were just too busy cooing over the babies, right? Oh, the baby that loves me, the baby this, baby that. So that's the important thing is understand that you got to accept the fact that you're not going to get a lot of your emotional or physical needs met for about 3 months, right? That's just
at least that maybe 18 years.
Well, no, then the woman's got a problem.
Yeah. I guess I had to be prepared that I never got it again, and then if I get it, it's like
that like 3 months is like just just expect nothing, you'll get more than nothing. Right?
Fair enough.
Right. And I talk about it with your wife ahead of time. It's not like
Yeah.
this should be a discussion. She's going to be very focused on the baby, and that's okay. This is your baby too. Like, this is good. The best thing you can do for that baby in the first 3 months is get it constant attention from the mother, right? If you and others want to give it attention, that's a bonus, but the mother's the most important. And then after that, man, it's about kind of the mom easing her way back into the flow of life, however that's going to be. But things are going to be so fundamental, especially with the first baby, so fundamentally different. I'll give you a really good example. When Veronica was pregnant with our first kid, both of us worked from, we both had our own businesses. We both kind of worked from home a little bit. And so the midwife was always like, well, what's your plan for your child care plan? Veronica was like, what are you talking about? We both work from home. Like, whatever, the baby will just be here. And Monica is like so nice. She would never be like, that's stupid and never going to work. But she kind of implied it, but we just couldn't hear because we had no experience. And she was right.
Yeah.
It was a total disaster.
Whether
No
you're
work
working
from
or
home
not.
with a baby.
Yeah.
No. And it was so bad. Veronica and I, Veronica basically tried to keep her life exactly the same and had a baby, which does not work. It's a total disaster. And it got so bad within the first 3 months that her mom came down for like 2 weeks after the baby was born and then left. And then I called up her mom and I'm like, listen, Cindy, I don't care what it costs. I'll get you your own apartment. I'll pay anything. But you need to come down here and stay as long as you can, because you may not have a son-in-law or a daughter-in-law or a grandchild if you don't. And she's like, okay,
We're not gonna
just give
make
me a
it.
day. I mean, bro, she packed her bags, loaded up her dogs, and she drove straight down.
I remember that moment.
And, yeah, dude. She stayed for a year, and it was it was the difference between almost literally between life and death. Like, it was.
And she lived near you, not with you.
She lived in the apartment building next door.
Okay, so next to you, yeah.
It was, and
so
she
whether
was
you
there
hire somebody or whether you have family
8 a.m.
nearby.
to 5 p.m. every day.
Wow.
And she was, she would, my oldest bishop has a super strong relationship with his grandmother. And I think a big part of it is because she probably held him a third or half of the time his first year, right? Like, if it wasn't mommy, it was granny. And so he had 2 women just adoring him. And it was great. It worked out great, and it gave Veronica the time and space she needed to learn how to adapt to being a mother. And then 2, 3, 4 were much easier for her, But
I'm just touched imagining your experience being neglected, and now your first son having 2 women loving him like that.
Like that, you bring up a great point. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
That year was so hard for me, and I wasn't envious of him. I wasn't mad at him. I never took it out on him. But man, it was very hard watching this little kid get everything I didn't get, right? That was a huge part of why I ended up starting psychedelic medicine, because it brought up so much big stuff and I had no idea how to deal with it. Yeah. He was born in 2014. It took me still another 3 years or 4 years to start. But man, it was rough, dude. It was very, very rough. And it was a very hard, year for me.
They talk about postpartum depression in women. There's sort of this postpartum anxiety or depression in men that's not really talked about. Would you describe it that way? Like you had
that was my issue.
A lot of emotions that came up.
It depends on the dude. A lot of people will say, oh, you're going to see the baby and fall in love with it. And some dudes for sure do. I have friends who just the first time they saw their baby was, they're like a woman cooing over it. Nothing wrong with that. That's great. If that's true, then that's fine. I wasn't like that. I love the baby in the abstract, but I don't know, man. Maybe I'm a weirdo. I'm not, because I know a lot of other dudes are like this. But it's hard for me to have deep love for something that I don't have a relationship with. And a relationship is reciprocal. Mm-hmm. And a baby is not reciprocal. It is a little, just on a pure neurological level, it doesn't even understand there's a universe outside of itself. It is I joke around, I call it a sociopathic locust, because it only thinks about itself and it only consumes and takes, which is fine. It's a baby. It's what it's supposed to do. There's nothing wrong with that.
Like you at 28.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's natural for a baby, right? And so I didn't deeply connect with my son until he was probably about between 2 and 3 is when they really start to become a person. Mm-hmm. And then you can really have relationships and they're truly interactive, right?
Was that true with all of them?
Yeah, that
after you healed some of your stuff, were you able to connect earlier, or
not really?
It just was less stressful.
It's not like I didn't love them or they're just dolls and I don't care about them. It's just I don't know, man. The depth of feeling and connection my wife and my mother-in-law both have, I could see they had for every kid as soon as it was born, I didn't have until later.
Yeah.
And that's just, some dudes are like, I'm not the only one, right? But some dudes are the other way. Either way is fine. But it's okay if you're one way or the other. There's not like some, it's not, you're not abnormal if you're not cooing over the baby, freaking out, be like, oh, it looked at me, it knows me, it loves me.
Yeah.
It doesn't fucking love you. It's a baby.
Yeah, the baby. I actually don't really like babies very much. They're boring. Yeah. Like, it's just not my thing. I love kids. I loved my baby. I have much greater time with her now. I mean, now we're like, inseparable.
Yes.
But it is men and babies. It's not as natural as women, I think, depending on the man. So yeah. So just to wrap up, what's one thing you wish you would have known before? Now that you wish you would have known before becoming a dad that you know now.
Man, I mean, I learned most stuff pretty quickly. I learned this kind of early, but I still it's a thing that I wish I had gone even deeper on even earlier. Is one of the things that I've really focused on as a parent, and it's helped me a lot as a person, but really as a parent, is really focusing on what my language with kids, right? Like, what am I saying? Because a lot of times you can say a lot of things to adults and they get your meaning. Kids don't, there's not a shared context a lot of times. They're going to take you a different way. I'll give you such a good example. So my wife, I remember one time Bishop, I don't know, he was learning to walk or something. He was like 18 months old. And he fell down and he kind of hurt his knee. And my wife, of course, she panicked a little bit and ran up and she's like, you're okay, you're okay. And I was like, what the, no, hold on. Listen to what you're saying. He's crying and upset. Why are you telling him he's okay? And she kind of looked at me. She's like, I don't know. I'm like, baby, you're doing that because you're anxious and you're trying to calm yourself down. Yeah. Which is fine. Calm yourself down, but don't tell him he's okay. Ask him if he's okay, right? Hey, that looks like it hurts. Does it hurt? Yeah. And there's so many examples I could give. There's a couple of books that do a really good job explaining this, but kids force me to not just be a mirror with my behavior, but almost like an audiobook of my words. Like, I hear my words now through their ears. And bro, so much of what I said was not good, maybe not horrible toxic, but it's still things like, I don't know, you're okay, or so much of what we say are subliminally or unconsciously gives messages that we're not intending to give. And so I've gotten so much better with my language. The sooner I wish I'd just done that even sooner. Yeah,
thanks. Yeah, we covered a lot of ground there, a lot of great wisdom. If people want to learn more of your philosophy, your approach to life and so forth.
I'm writing my next memoir now, sort of about the last 10 years.
Okay.
I don't know how much I'm going to cover parenthood in it. Yeah. That might have to be its own book. Because here's the thing. I don't want to hear about parenthood from somebody until I see their kids. Right? If I see their kids and their kids are really well adjusted and great kids, I'm like, okay, you have something to teach me. I don't listen to people at all unless what they're telling me about is something they're doing in a way that I want to emulate. Right? Yeah. And so if I see someone, they have a great relationship with their kids and their kids are happy and healthy, I'm like, I want to hear what you have to say.
So is your memoir going to be similar style as your previous books, entertaining? Great. I'm excited. Yeah. When's that going to come out?
Whenever I finish it, bro. I don't know. Yeah.
All right.
I have no idea.
We'll pay attention. But well, thanks so much. That was a lot of really great stuff.
Of course.
You're very lucky children. Really amazing life you've built for them. The way you've integrated your pain and your trauma and entertained the world with it, and then transformed it to become a great dad. It's really admirable.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, and stay dedicated.